It's actually kind of funny. It's just kind of funny in a way, but it wasn't so serious. But the problem at family health care, again, it's not about me being fired. I could care less about being fired. I was on my way out anyway, and already begun the transition to try and select a CEO and a team that would replace me and keep on the same track. We have solved the problem. I had the financial problems at family health care solved within 6 months after I went there. The problem is this cancerous relationship between the board and the mayor and the city government and the Spencer Economic Development Authority and Tom Whittier doing double duty as city attorney and board either president or vice president. It's a dead conflict of interest. He and I have had numerous conversations about it, and yet he hangs on tenaciously and directs the board, and people just follow like lambs. And this situation that we have right now, I started in February. This did not come as a surprise. In February, I started with a very detailed strategic plan for the future. And I laid it all out for them. And the catalyst in this whole thing is that in 1999, when Walmart came to town, and by the way, I did find an interview from Mayor Williams and the Charleston Gazette that was published in about 2006, but it specifically stated that he had been working on that Walmart deal for 3 years before they came to town. Now, if you rewind from January of 1999, 3 years, you're going to find out that he probably had knowledge that Walmart was coming to town before they actually sold that building to Walmart. So there's a little inside knowledge there. But when Walmart came to town, it needed a piece of property off of the north end of Family Health Care's parking lot, which was very small anyway. That building had no parking with it, period. Very, very little. It needs 112 spots. 30,000 square feet of clinic space times 4, which is a national standard. Actually, 5 is the national standard, but even with 4 is 112 parking places. Right now they have 57 and none. So anyway, Walmart came to town. It had needed this piece of property. Tom Whittier decided not to be board president. He jumped over the table to resume his normal job of being attorney for the Spencer Economic Development Authority. I think, based on his letter, and based on the letter that now Judge Evans probably represented family health care, which is perfectly fine, no problem there. Tom Whittier drew a plan based on Richard Silman, the architect's parking plan, and sent it to the USDA as the plan. It was to be an equal swap, land for land, replace parking for lost parking. Nothing wrong with it. Perfect. Parking in front of family health care. But the problem was that in February the 4th, now this letter to the USDA was like January the 16th, February the 4th, they had a special meeting of the board, hastily called because they had to close this deal with Walmart. They had Michelle Grinberg, the same one, you know, she tried to fire me once before, but back about 5 years ago, the board brought her up here to fire me, but at the end of that day, 5 members of the board actually resigned, and I stayed on, and Michelle kind of tucked her tail and went, so she actually had to do this twice, you know. But anyway, that's just a little aside. Michelle's kind of like a female Napoleon, you know, and fun to be with, even if she does fire me. So anyway, February the 4th, there's a special meeting, hastily called, 4 o'clock in the afternoon, Tuesday or something like that, in the middle of the week. And here we have 7 members of the board show up, 7 voting members. Other people showed up, but 7 voting members. But one of the women on the board of Family Health Care I knew was on the Spencer Economic Development Authority. So she was one of the ones that voted for selling the property or giving it to Walmart, and that's fine. Everybody got on board. But then a few days later, when the deed was actually filed back from the Spencer Economic Development Authority to Family Health Care, instead of being Richard Silman's great plan, it wasn't anything like it. It was 20 feet of grass in the front yard that had been actually withheld from the original deed. Now all this is documented. All this is actually in the courthouse. I've spent hours and hours and hours going through these documents and plotting out legal descriptions, so believe me, you can go see it yourself if you want to. So anyway, when the smoke cleared and Roane County Family Health Care got 20 feet of grass in the front yard that had been withheld from the original deed, Guess what? The Spencer Economic Development Authority packaged that and got $100,000 from Walmart, and the Spencer City got all the taxes off of Walmart, and according to the interview that Mayor Williams did not have to pay anything for it. So for all this time, they've gotten the taxes off of Walmart, got taxes from contractors when it was built, same as they did from family health care. $1.5 million, all the contractors paid up the city for working there. So now we have a situation where, wait a minute, we didn't get any parking. Family health care just got 20 feet of grass to mow, right, all the way across the front. The old, what I call a typical bait and switch, when you drill out that legal description, and to boot, what happens now is that the patients have to park in the right-of-way of the road out in front, and there's where it all comes to be. Spencer Economic Development Authority got $100,000 in cash. City of Spencer got all the taxes. Roane County Family Health Care, with Tom Whittier as the attorney for the Spencer Economic Development Authority, not the board president of Roane County Family Health Care, got nothing but a parking problem, and it got 20 feet of grass across the front of the parking lot. Tell me what's wrong with that picture. So now the patients have to park in the right-of-way of the roadway, which is a federal industrial access road or a state highway. The state maintains it, and that's illegal. The parking plan that was submitted after, there's a letter on file, February the 24th from Glenn McHenry to the USDA trying to explain why it all changed. Basically, Richard Silman was fired because he was so angry that he called the USDA and said this will never work because it's illegal. You cannot, they drew 25 parking places, looks good on paper except it doesn't work, because in order to do that with 8-foot parking places, which don't work anyway, they would have to back out onto the right-of-way of the road, and it's illegal. You can't do it, and it's pure fantasy. When I pointed this out to Mayor Williams in 2006, I mean, I've been working on this for a while. This is not something new. I pointed this out in 2006. It did not work, and all he did was get red in the face and yell at me, which is fine. I don't pay much attention to that. But that's the heart of this problem. From February on, and when I read Mark Whitley's report to the county commission that he actually had a tenant for the blue building, which has been empty for 10 years, and the only reason this hasn't surfaced till now is because the blue building has been empty and nobody has complained about our patients parking on the right-of-way in front of family health care. So what do? Our creditors are at risk. I told the USDA if we lose that patient parking when the building is occupied, we will default on $1 million loan. No question about it. If patients can't park in the front of that building, family health care won't last 90 days, and I know it, and they know it. So anyway, all of this transpired. I've been pushing the board to fix it. I wrote, Tom's idea of fixing it was to spend about $50,000 developing this little piece of property down there where my trailer sits at the very end. And I had the place surveyed, and we don't even own it. Most of that's owned by the state highway as the right-of-way. You cannot drive around that building and drive along the back where the handicap door is and even stay on family health care property. Most of that's state highway. I mean, this is the most screwed up, a ridiculous project. It was a bad idea. It was badly done. There's the only thing good about it at family health care are the people. So anyway, that's the basis of the problem. I invited Mayor Williams to bring anybody he wants. I even invited George Scott, because I really like George Scott. I don't know him very well, but I have a lot of respect for him, and because of his community service. And he even stood up in a meeting before they sold him this building and told them, I have a recording of it from WVRC, that he told them the old building was too old, it wasn't suited for family health care purposes, and they just ignored him and went ahead with it anyway.